Struggling with stress? Timeless Zen story and powerful Buddhist teachings for instant calm. A famous Zen master was once asked, "What's your secret to remaining calm when everything falls apart?" His unexpected three-word answer transformed my life during my darkest moment, when my career collapsed, my health failed, and I lost everything I'd built. Today, I'll share the ancient Buddhist practice that neurologists have recently discovered can physically restructure your brain's stress response in just 6 minutes per day. This isn't meditation advice you've heard before. It's the exact technique that monks have used for centuries to maintain perfect calm while facing situations far worse than what most of us will ever experience. Welcome to Moon Mind Temple. Today, we're not just talking about mental strength, that buzzword that gets thrown around. We're delving into something far deeper, the art of cultivating an unbreakable mind, a mind rooted in the ancient wisdom of Zen Buddhism. We're going to explore how to navigate the inevitable ups and downs of life with grace, resilience, and an unshakable sense of self. Stick with me, and together, we'll unlock the secrets to a truly enduring happiness. This journey will require honesty, contemplation, and a willingness to question everything you think you know. Ready to begin? Let me tell you a story. A Zen master was once giving a tea ceremony to a group of students. He had many beautiful teacups, each one a work of art. But he also had one old, cracked teacup. During the ceremony, he meticulously chose the cracked teacup for himself. The students, of course, noticed. After the ceremony, one of the bolder students asked, "Master, why did you choose the cracked cup? Surely one of the perfect cups would have been more fitting for you." The master smiled gently and replied, "Because, my dear student, this cup reminds me of the truth. Just like this cup, we are all cracked in some way. We all have our imperfections, our wounds, our histories. But it is through these cracks that the light enters. It is in our imperfections that we find our strength, our compassion, and our connection to others." I remember when I was just a novice myself, training in a temple, I felt so much pressure to be perfectly enlightened. Every mistake felt like a monumental failure. I was striving for an image that didn't exist, an impossible standard that led only to frustration and self-criticism. It was only when my own teacher pointed out that my struggles were precisely the path that I began to understand the deeper meaning of the cracked cup. The master's words and my own experience remind us of a powerful truth. We don't need to be perfect to be whole. Trying to achieve an ideal of unwavering strength is often counterproductive. It creates a rigidness that ultimately makes us more vulnerable to breaking. Instead, we need to embrace our imperfections, our vulnerabilities, and our past experiences. These are not weaknesses. They are the source of our resilience. They are what make us human. They allow us to connect with others on a deeper level. So, the first step in cultivating an unbreakable mind is to radically accept yourself, cracked cup and all. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Acceptance is fine, you might say. But what about actually doing something to improve my mental strength? What about taking control? And that's a valid question. However, it's crucial to understand the illusion of control. We often spend so much energy trying to control external circumstances, other people's opinions, the flow of events, even the weather, that we neglect the one thing we can truly control: our own minds, our own reactions. There's an old Zen story about a farmer who only had one horse. One day the horse ran away. The farmer's neighbors came to offer their condolences. "Oh, what terrible luck!" they exclaimed. The farmer simply replied, "Maybe." The next day the horse returned, bringing with it several wild horses. The neighbors rejoiced. "How wonderful! What great luck!" The farmer again replied, "Maybe." The following day, the farmer's son was trying to tame one of the wild horses when he was thrown and broke his leg. The neighbors lamented, "Oh, what awful luck." The farmer once again responded, "Maybe." The next day, the army came to the village to conscript young men for war. Because the farmer's son had a broken leg, he was spared. The neighbors cried, "How fortunate! What amazing luck!" And the farmer, you guessed it, replied, "Maybe." The farmer's wisdom lies in his understanding of impermanence and the interconnectedness of all things. What appears to be good luck can lead to unforeseen consequences, and what seems like bad luck can ultimately bring unexpected blessings. This story isn't about fatalism, it's about cultivating a broader perspective. It's about recognizing that we rarely have the full picture, and that our judgments of good and bad are often based on limited information and our own subjective biases. When you train your mind to accept the maybe, you create space for resilience. You become less attached to outcomes and more adaptable to whatever life throws your way. This is the heart of a resilient mind. Now, let's get a bit more practical. The Buddha spoke of the 8 worldly winds, the inevitable experiences that buffet us throughout our lives: pleasure and pain, gain and loss, praise and blame, fame and disgrace. These are the forces that can easily knock us off balance, triggering strong emotional reactions and clouding our judgment. The key isn't to avoid these winds. That's impossible. The key is to learn how to stand firm in the face of them, to observe them without being swept away. Let's bring this to modern life. Imagine you've poured your heart and soul into a project at work, and your boss criticizes it harshly in front of your colleagues. The wind of blame is blowing fiercely. Or maybe you've been working tirelessly on building your social media presence, and a troll leaves a hateful comment. The wind of disgrace is swirling around you. What do? The instinctual reaction is to get defensive, to retaliate, or to spiral into self-doubt. But that's precisely when you need to pause, breathe, and remember the 8 worldly winds. Recognize that these experiences are inevitable, that they are part of the human condition. A content I made a year ago went viral, and I was showered in praise. I was feeling high on the validation. Then, the views slowed, and a wave of negativity came. People tore down my work and accused me of things I did not even do. I almost gave up. I let the winds get to me and knock me down. It took a moment of deep introspection and meditation for me to remind myself that these winds are impermanent, and to center myself again. This is where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness is simply paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It's about observing your thoughts and feelings as they arise, without getting caught up in them. When the winds of the world are blowing, mindfulness allows you to see them for what they are: temporary experiences that will eventually pass. It allows you to create space between the stimulus, the criticism, the setback, and your reaction. And in that space, you have a choice. You can choose to react with anger, defensiveness, or self-pity, or you can choose to respond with equanimity, with a calm acceptance of reality. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest obstacles to mental strength: the inner critic. That voice inside your head that constantly tells you you're not good enough, that you're going to fail, that you're unworthy of happiness. This inner critic is a master of negativity, and it can sabotage your efforts to cultivate resilience. A Zen student once came to his master, distraught. "Master," he said, "I try so hard to meditate, but my mind is constantly filled with doubts and worries. I feel like I'm making no progress." The master smiled and said, "Imagine you have a cup filled with muddy water. If you keep stirring it, the mud will never settle. But if you leave it undisturbed, the mud will eventually sink to the bottom and the water will become clear." Your mind is like that cup. Stop fighting the doubts and worries. Just observe them without judgment, and they will eventually settle on their own. The key to silencing the inner critic is self-compassion. Self-compassion is treating yourself with the same kindness, care, and understanding that you would offer to a dear friend. It's about recognizing that everyone makes mistakes, that everyone struggles, and that you are worthy of love and acceptance, even when you fall short. When you cultivate self-compassion, you create a buffer against the inner critic's attacks. You are less likely to take its criticisms to heart, and more likely to respond with kindness and understanding. I realized that I was far too worried about failure, to the point where I never let myself learn and try new things. When things went wrong, I was angry and frustrated, and I began to hate myself for not being good enough. And in time, I did realize that I was speaking to myself in a way that I would not have even done with my worst enemy. Be kind to yourself. Forgive yourself for your mistakes. The more you forgive yourself, the easier it is to take your focus back to living. Finally, let's talk about the power of connection. In Buddhist philosophy, we recognize that the separate self is ultimately an illusion, what the Buddha called anatta. We exist in a web of interdependence, where our well-being is inextricably linked to those around us. There's a timeless story that captures this wisdom. An old man had 3 sons who were constantly quarreling. On his deathbed, he called them to his side. He presented them with a bundle of sticks bound tightly together and asked each to break it. Despite their strength, none could snap the bundle. Then he untied it and gave each son a single stick, which they broke effortlessly. "My sons," the old man said with his final breath, "this is the nature of human strength. When you stand divided, you will break under life's pressures, but when you remain united, supporting each other through life's storms, you become unbreakable." This parable isn't just about family unity, it reveals a profound truth about our resilience as humans. The Buddha taught that Sangha, spiritual community, is not optional, but essential for the path to liberation. Even he, fully enlightened, maintained deep connections with disciples and friends throughout his life. I've witnessed this truth in my own darkest moments. When my meditation practice faltered during personal crisis, it wasn't willpower that restored me. It was the gentle accountability of friends who sat with me in silence, who offered presence without judgment. Their companionship became the container that held me when I couldn't hold myself. Research now confirms what monks have known for centuries. Isolation literally damages our brain's stress regulation systems, while meaningful connection activates neural pathways of calm and healing. A Harvard study spanning decades found that the quality of our relationships predicts our happiness and health more reliably than wealth, fame, or achievement. In my meditation community, we practice a beautiful ritual during challenging times. We place a small stone in a communal bowl, representing our individual burden. By week's end, each person takes home a different stone, a tangible reminder that we carry each other's loads, that no one walks alone. Remember, the unbreakable mind isn't developed in isolation, but in relationship. Like those bundled sticks, we find our greatest strength not in independence, but in interdependence, supporting and being supported through life's inevitable challenges. So, let's recap. The unbreakable mind is not about being impervious to pain or hardship. It's about cultivating the inner resources to navigate these challenges with grace, resilience, and wisdom. It's about accepting yourself, imperfections and all. It's about understanding that you don't need to be tough or angry to be strong. It's about practicing mindfulness, equanimity, self-compassion, and connection. I invite you to explore these practices in your own life. Start small. Begin with just a few minutes of mindfulness meditation each day. Notice your thoughts and feelings without judgment. Practice self-compassion by speaking kindly to yourself. Reach out to someone you trust for support. And remember, this is a journey, not a destination. Be patient with yourself and celebrate your progress along the way. As you cultivate an unbreakable mind, you will discover a wellspring of inner peace and strength that will sustain you through even the most challenging times. May you find peace, may you find happiness, and may you find the unbreakable mind within. Namaste. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who might benefit from these teachings. And leave a comment below, letting me know what resonated with you the most. What is one imperfection about yourself that you can love today? Until next time, be well.